Doctor Strange is the most powerful character in the MCU. You can make that argument now that a lot of heavy hitters are on their way out. The Binger is here to help prove that point by counting down some of his best powers. Doctor Strange has a ton of abilities, which, if you're Morgan Stark, means it's somewhere below 3,000. But that's neither here nor there. The point we're making is that there's a lot to cover in this list, so no more delays, let's hop right into it. Keep in mind, we're just going to talk about 15 of his powers. Strange has books of spells he knows that don't even come close to meeting a mortal understanding of magic, so we're just going to keep this list simple and concise. The ability to fly isn't special in the MCU. Falcon can do it, Vision can do it, Captain Marvel can do it. You clearly see where we're going with this, right? It's super cool, and we love that Strange does it through the cloak of levitation. However, there's nothing discernibly advantageous about this gift. It gives him the upper hand against people that can't fly, but that hardly provides him enough favor to outright win. A good offense is a stellar defense. Just look at the Steel Curtain years that helped the Pittsburgh Steelers dominate the NFL. The ability to prevent a flood from wiping out an entire army is Strange's version of Mean Joe Green. Okay, we lost some of you with the outdated sports references, so let's break it down a little more. For those of you who saw Endgame, the Sorcerer Supreme is helping his comrades in battle when suddenly the lake next to a newly formed crater begins to leak out and flood the battlefield. Doctor Strange is so amazing that he uses a spell to hold the water at bay. If he can control water, he can likely do the same with any element. Imagine the possibilities there. Given enough time, Strange can use this spell to prevent all sorts of disasters. Getting near the end of your rope is a scary thought. Even worse when you're a masterclass surgeon being forced to watch it happen without being able to do anything. Lucky for Strange, he's got options. Fans saw this ability's usefulness during the character's feature film. After an incident with a villain, Strange needed to receive emergency medical help. He uses his Astral Projection to guide the process. Now, that was interrupted by the same guy. He Astral Projected and fought Strange. However, we think that points to the strength of this power. That way, he can fight with a vengeful opponent safely while communicating with a comrade outside that plane. On top of that, the Ancient One showed viewers that this ability can even knock out the Hulk. Okay, we hear you, Internet. Technically, Heightened Intelligence isn't one of Strange's powers, but it's part of his abilities, and we believe it counts. Consider how far his intelligence takes him. Without the ability to memorize spells and study quickly, he wouldn't be the Sorcerer Supreme. He manages to expertly craft spells way beyond a beginner's understanding. Of course, Google Translate helped him get to that point too, but regardless, it's his intelligence that makes all of these powers work better. Not only does he not need to carry a spellbook, he manages to tactically use his spells in the best situations. The dynamic certainly came to a head when Stark and he battled against Thanos for the first time. He used every weapon at his disposal to make that battle work in their favor. We gave this entry a simple name, but it's really all about teleportation. We just like that he does it in such an interesting way. Not every person can walk through a portal and create them for other people. This power sets Strange apart in a lot of ways. Of course, we're not going to mention the fact that anybody with a ring like his can do it. It still takes practice at the end of the day, practice that took Strange months to perfect. Teleporting people by opening portals turned out to be one of the greatest tools in his cabinet when they fought Thanos. We wouldn't have gotten On Your Left or that entire portal scene if it wasn't for this power. It gives him the ability to outmaneuver an average fighter and gives his team a leg up in most combat situations. We think it's safe to say that this is one of his most underappreciated powers. The power to cast spells and channel magic gives Strange a lot of powers he hides away. These are the sorts of things that don't always appear visibly but sit underneath the surface. Think back to the reason behind Strange's calling. He wanted to get his hands back. No modern medical practice could fix his fingers. Only the powers he learned from the Ancient One could help him and many other people. Strange knows now that he is immune to most bodily ailments. Magic can fix him and cure him of many diseases. We're not sure how far this power can extend, but it's clear it's not something you can pull out to stop internal bleeding or sudden impacts. It needs to be something that would ail him for a long period of time. Otherwise, this power doesn't work. So Strange isn't currently using this power right now. In fact, he may never use this ability. Fans know the possibility is out there. The Ancient One extended her life for years by drawing on this ability. The drawback is the cost to use it. To extend one's life as a sorcerer, you need to channel dark magic. It's a give and take. The point is that most people aren't strong enough to handle the risk. Strange is supposed to be the greatest of all the sorcerers. That point in itself means it's doubtful he'll ever turn to this power and use it. Only time will tell though, and one can never fully say never when it comes to this character. This power is Strange's ultimate humble brag. The guy will casually float something over to you and not even blink twice about it. He uses this ability in the simplest ways. The gist of the power is exactly what you'd expect. Strange can levitate objects and leave them floating in empty space. He basically allows things to defy gravity. The trouble comes with the mystery surrounding this power. No one is sure how far this ability extends. For instance, can Strange levitate a person with this power? We haven't seen it done yet. However, it feels like it might be possible. It'd take all his concentration probably, but it shouldn't be ruled out. If his telekinetic ability was better defined, we'd move it up on this list, but we can't do that until it is. Sometimes the simplest trick can be used to great extent. It's true that Doctor Strange has some spells that feel like a classy magician show, but they're still powerful sometimes. In their fight with Thanos, Strange turned a shot from him into a thing of butterflies. He transformed a dangerous object into something harmless. That's the kind of transfiguration that gets you props at the local wizard showcase. We assume he can do more than just turn fire into butterflies. The extent of that power likely includes greater versions of polymorphing. However, we're going with what we know from the film version of this power. Either way, this butterfly trick is one heck of a useful spell to provide some quick defense. Everyone knows that action movie trope where the hero loses his weapon and needs to slog through a bunch of bad guys to get it back. It's the old reliable that, lucky for us, Strange never needs to go through again. He possesses the ability to summon a number of weapons. Now, on the one hand, we don't see Strange getting into fights super often. On the other, if he did, fans know that he can pull up a weapon rather quickly. Plus, it's not just weapons, it's also shields. This ability provides him with a number of offensive and defensive maneuverings. It makes this one a true jack of all trades. This entry is the only one that we'll tie directly to the comic books. Many of the powers we're discussing come from his film persona. We doubt that Strange will pull out necromancy at any point in the MCU. He's already moved past the learning stages of his powers. Wielding the power of time taught him to take magic seriously. Summoning the dead would likely classify as a never-do-this kind of spell. In the comics, Strange is shown pulling off this powerful magic to reanimate his brother Victor. The drawback is Victor becomes a vampire. It's a major bummer for him and a sign of the dangers of magic during his formative years. Viewers sticking to the MCU timeline know nothing of Victor, and it's doubtful he'll make an appearance. Still, always know that this dark magic is there for Strange to use if he chooses to risk it. We saw other sorcerers disband magic during the Doctor Strange feature film. If that's the case, that means Strange should be able to do the exact opposite. It takes research and planning, but many assume the Sorcerer Supreme can negate certain evil magic. The older the magic, the more difficult the task. However, the chance is out there. We can think of a dozen uses for this kind of spell. Strange can prevent all sorts of catastrophes by negating their effects. The only trouble is knowing how they'll happen to use the right kind of magical negation. It'd be tricky, but if it worked, the results would be stunning. This spell never works out for our protagonist. He's summoned this realm against two evil forces and had them both break out of it. It's a real disappointment, but we stand by its strength. Doctor Strange wouldn't have attempted to use the mirror dimension against Thanos if it didn't have an outside chance of working. The only powers that defeated this ability were being channeled by greater cosmic forces. So yes, if he's fighting someone with an Infinity Stone or super dark magic, then it's a bad idea to use this realm. However, against the strongest of mortal villains, the mirror dimension is the perfect banishment tool. It's also an excellent way to prevent true damage to a city in times of crisis, even if the monster would break out eventually. It hasn't worked yet, but there's a reason he keeps trying it. Let's call it as it is. Seeing into the future is just the ultimate ability. It's a big reason the Avengers defeated Thanos. Sure, a rat needed to press a button and Fury needed to hit his messenger at the right moment, but still, Strange knew that all those things were possible. He went into the future and looked at millions of scenarios. It's the ultimate strategy tool. Strange would have lost Iron Man before giving Thanos the Time Stone. It's the truth. Think about how attached he was to not giving up that stone. Tony was expendable until he wasn't. The only way Strange saw that coming was using this ability. It's one of the greatest weapons that he lost in Endgame. Finally, alongside seeing into the future is manipulating it. It's the one ability that trumps all other powers. Strange used the Time Stone to prevent the destruction of our entire planet. Talk about some serious powers. He used the Time Loop ability to save the Earth. It cost him a lot of time, theoretically, but in the end that didn't matter. Time was all relative. He can stop forces from advancing and even shake off citywide destruction. It's the kind of power that changes the tide of battle in a way that no other ability can. It's his trump card. Well, it was his best move, but the Time Stone is destroyed. Strange needs to find a new way to deal with threats to this realm. Only time will tell how he manages to do that task. Not everyone will agree with this list. Do you think something was improperly ranked or left out? Give us your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to support The Binger by liking this video and subscribing to keep up to date. It's your support that keeps videos like this coming.